not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
He was a 50-year-old chemistry teacher with $7,000 in a bank account, a pregnant wife, and 2 months to live. By the end, he'd built a drug empire worth $80 million. He'd killed or caused the deaths of at least 200 people. He destroyed his entire family. And the night the finale aired, millions of people cried when he died. Not because they felt sorry for him, because they missed him. That should disturb you. It disturbed Vince Gilligan too. And today, we're going to find out exactly why it happened, what it says about storytelling, and what it says about us. Breaking Bad premiered on January 20, 2008, to fewer than 2 million viewers. The network almost canceled it. Season 1 had only 7 episodes because a writer's strike cut it short. Nobody predicted what was coming. Walter Hartwell White is invisible. He's a high school chemistry teacher earning $43,700 a year, according to New Mexico's published teacher salary data. He moonlights at a car wash to make ends meet. His boss there makes him scrub wheel rims by hand and laughs about it. His wife Skylar is 7 months pregnant. His son, Walt Jr., who goes by Flynn, has cerebral palsy and uses crutches. Walter pays for everything. Walter fixes everything, and nobody notices. His brother-in-law, Hank Schrader, is a DEA agent, loud, confident. He tells jokes at dinner that Walter has to laugh at. He gets the attention Walter used to dream about. And then one Tuesday morning, Walter faints in a parking lot. Stage 3A adenocarcinoma of the lung. Inoperable. 18 months, maybe 2 years, with treatment. That's when you find out the microdetail. The show drops quietly, almost in passing. Walter didn't just build his reputation as a chemistry teacher. 20 years earlier, he co-founded a company called Gray Matter Technologies with his college partner Elliot Schwartz. Walter left. He sold his 50% share for exactly $5,000. By 2008, the day Walter gets his diagnosis, gray matter is valued at over $2.16 billion. Walter didn't just get cancer. He got cancer while watching the life he should have had on someone else's highlight reel. That's not tragedy. That's a powder keg. Here's something television writers understand that audiences don't consciously notice. You don't root for a character because they're good. You root for them because you're inside their head. Breaking Bad put you inside Walter's head from minute 1. You felt his humiliation. You heard the way Hank talked over him. You saw the car wash manager bark orders at him. And when Walter finally stood up when he looked at a drug dealer named Emilio Nasso and blew up his RV rather than hand over the money, something in the audience woke up. He fought back. He won. Jesse Pinkman was Walter's former student, a dropout, a small-time dealer who couldn't even sell drugs properly. When Walter pulls Jesse into his operation, Jesse is sleeping in a house with broken windows and rotting food, getting beaten by people he owes money to, going absolutely nowhere. Walter gives Jesse structure, precision, standards. He treats Jesse's product like art. And in those early moments, even though what they're doing is objectively criminal, the relationship between them feels almost like mentorship. Walter finally gets to be great at something. Jesse finally gets to be trusted by someone. The audience loved them together, loved them separately, loved watching two broken people become, temporarily, improbably, a team. And then Saul Goodman walks in. Jimmy McGill, a lawyer who advertises on daytime TV between mattress commercials, silk suits, gold rings, jokes that land so precisely they feel like jabs. Saul is the fixer, the man who makes the impossible seem easy, the criminal world seem almost manageable. When Saul enters the story in Season 2, the show shifts gear. Every time the tension becomes unbearable, Saul cracks a line that punctures it. He's smart enough to see Walter clearly, smarter, possibly, than Walter, and cynical enough to stay anyway. Saul's genius as a character is this. He says out loud what the audience is thinking. He's the Greek chorus in a sharp suit. Season 4. Walter has been threatened, poisoned, manipulated, and nearly killed by a chicken restaurateur named Gustavo Fring, turned out to run the largest meth operation in the American Southwest. Skylar is afraid, she says so. She says maybe Walter is in danger, and Walter turns to her and says calmly, utterly without performance, "I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger." The internet broke. Not because it was cool dialogue, though it was, but because Walter said out loud what a certain kind of person always wants to believe. I am not the victim. I am the force. That line is the peak of Walter White as a wish fulfillment fantasy, and it's also, quietly, precisely, the beginning of the end. Psychologists call it parasocial moral licensing. When we watch a character long enough, when we understand their backstory, when we've suffered with them, we start granting them permission. We let them do things we'd never accept from a stranger. We justify, we minimize, we explain. A 2013 study from Ohio State University confirmed this. Viewers of Breaking Bad showed measurable moral disengagement as the show progressed. They held Walter to a different standard than they held anyone else on screen. The show manufactured that feeling deliberately. But here's the question the show was really asking, and nobody spotted it coming. What happens when a story refuses to let you keep doing that? Let's talk about the most hated character in Breaking Bad. Not Gus, not the cousins, not the neo-Nazis, Skylar White. Anna Gunn played her for 5 seasons with extraordinary precision and was rewarded with death threats. Not her character, the actor, the real woman. Skylar wasn't a villain. She didn't run drugs, she didn't hurt anyone. What she did was find out her husband was a methamphetamine manufacturer and say no. She pushed back. She refused to pretend. She moved money to protect herself legally. She had a brief affair, partly out of grief, partly out of desperation, while her marriage collapsed around her, and the audience despised her for it. Anna Gunn wrote an op-ed in the New York Times in August 2013 trying to understand it. She talked about a Facebook group with tens of thousands of members dedicated to hating Skylar White. She talked about the violent messages, the misogyny that was so naked it almost read as satire. But here's what nobody said plainly at the time. The audience hated Skylar because she was the only one in the room refusing to play along with their fantasy. Think about it. You've spent 4 seasons inside Walter's head. You felt his humiliation, his fear, his pride. And then here's this woman who doesn't have that access, who only sees the lies and the danger, and she's telling Walter to stop. She was holding up a mirror. And the audience threw the mirror across the room. The hatred of Skylar White is one of the most psychologically revealing audience responses in television history. It proves exactly how deep the moral disengagement had gone. For 5 seasons, Hank Schrader hunts the most dangerous drug manufacturer in the American Southwest. Every lead, every dead end, every partial clue. Hank works it obsessively, methodically, while eating Walter's cooking at Sunday dinners, while accepting rides in Walter's car, while laughing at Walter's jokes. Hank knows Heisenberg better than anyone alive. He just doesn't know Heisenberg is the man washing the dishes in the next room. The moment those 2 facts collide, the moment Hank finally puts them together, is coming. And what it costs him is something nobody who watched this show has ever forgotten. We'll get there. But you need to understand what it means first, because Hank isn't just a plot device. Hank is Walter's conscience in human form, and Walter spent 5 years having dinner with his conscience without ever once flinching. Season 4. Walter needs Jesse on his side. He needs Jesse to turn against Gus Fring, and Jesse won't do it, not without a reason. So Walter creates one. He gets access to a plant called Lily of the Valley. He extracts a compound that mimics ricin poisoning, and he doses a 6-year-old boy named Brock, the son of Jesse's girlfriend Andrea, well enough to put him in intensive care. Then he watches Jesse fall apart. Walter did that, not Gus, not a rival. Walter White, the man the audience has been inside for 4 seasons, deliberately poisoned a child so he could use a grieving father as a weapon. And here's the thing that made it worse. The audience knew. Walter didn't hide it from us. We watched him do it. We saw the plan in the finale. The show didn't flinch. It put the information in front of us and waited. The people who kept rooting for Walter after that, they had a choice to make. And they made it. Both camps were right about what they saw. They just chose differently about what to do with it. Ozymandias, Season 5, Episode 14, September 15, 2013. Television critics who have spent careers watching every prestige drama of the modern era call this the greatest single episode ever produced. It holds a 10 rating on IMDb from over 260,000 votes, a number that has never moved. Here's what happens. Hank has finally caught Walter, literally. On his knees in the dirt in the desert, handcuffed. 5 seasons of dinners. 5 seasons of jokes and poker games and birthday parties and lies. And Hank has him. He calls his wife Marie to tell her. His voice cracks. He can barely get the words out. And then from the ridge above, pickup trucks arrive. Walter called them. Jack Welker's neo-Nazi crew. Walter called them weeks earlier to handle a different problem, and they showed up anyway, late for a problem Walter no longer needed handled. Walter screams at them to stop. He's on his knees in the dirt screaming. He offers them his entire barrel of money, $80 million in cash, to let Hank go. Hank looks at him. And in one of the most perfectly written lines in the history of American television, Hank says, "You're the smartest guy I ever met. And you're too stupid to see he made up his mind 10 minutes ago." They shoot Hank. Walter falls to the earth. He screams into the dirt. The man he resented, the man who outshone him at every family gathering, the man he privately looked down on for 2 decades. Hank was the only one who ever really knew Walter. And Walter's own choices put a bullet in him. And then Walter does something that crystallizes the entire series in 30 seconds. He calls Skylar. And on the phone, knowing the police are listening, knowing his son Flynn is standing there, Walter performs one final manipulation. He screams at her. He blames her. He calls her stupid. He lists her failures. He's monstrous. It's the most vicious we've ever heard him, but Flynn hears it all. Walt Jr., who built a fundraising website for his father's cancer treatment, who defended Walter to everyone who doubted him, who loved his dad with pure, uncomplicated faith, picks up the phone and calls the police on his father. That's the real ending. Everything after it is just paperwork, not the money, not the meth empire, not even Hank's death. The moment Walter White lost everything was the moment his own son, his reason, his justification, his alibi looked at him and saw Heisenberg. Walter runs. A man named Ed Galbraith, who runs a vacuum cleaner shop as cover, relocates people for $125,000. Walter pays. He ends up in a cabin in rural New Hampshire. Snow. Silence. A barrel of cash he can't spend. A phone he's afraid to use. He's rich. He's alone. He's nothing. And then one night, watching TV at the bar where Ed drops him off once a month, Walter sees Elliot and Gretchen Schwartz on Charlie Rose, talking about gray matter, distancing themselves from Walter, calling him a footnote. He goes back, not to win. There's nothing left to win. He goes back because he has 3 things left to do: get money to his family, free Jesse, and end it on his own terms. But first, he sits in a car outside Elliot and Gretchen's mansion, in the dark, and says the truest thing he's ever said. He didn't cook meth to save his family. He cooked meth because he was good at it, because it made him feel alive, Because for the first time in 20 years, he was exactly himself and the world could finally see it. Remember the opening. A dying teacher, a drug empire, millions of people weeping at his death. Here's why. Vince Gilligan didn't write a villain, he wrote a mirror. Walter's grievances are real. His intelligence is real. His sense of being robbed of gray matter, of recognition, of a life that should have gone differently, that's real. And because it's real, we understood it. We justified it. We cheered it. Until the show, methodically, mercilessly, made us watch what that justification actually looked like from the outside. Jesse Pinkman drives away. That's it. That's the entire emotional payoff for the audience that turned on Walter. The kid he used, lied to, poisoned, manipulated, and almost destroyed, he gets out. He's broken. He'll probably be broken for the rest of his life. But he's alive, he's free, he's moving. Walter White died in the place he felt most like himself. He didn't die as the teacher. He didn't die as the husband or the father. He died as Heisenberg. And the terrifying thing, the thing that stays with you, is that he looked satisfied. If you want to know what happened to Saul Goodman before all of this, before the silk suits, before the criminal law, before Heisenberg, his story starts in Albuquerque with a man who just wanted to be respected. Sound familiar? Better Call Saul ran 6 seasons. It ended in 2022. It answers a question Breaking Bad never fully asked. What breaks a person before they break bad? That video is up next. And if this kind of psychological deep dive is what you come here for, subscribe. Every week one story, one character, no filler. See you there.